All right, it's like this. In Genesis, it's written about the Elohim created mankind in their image, their likeness, okay? And when you look at that word in Hebrew, it means an illusion, a phantom, all right? A vain show, all right? A lot of people say, well, see, that Elohim in our image, see, that's Jesus and God. That's what a lot of preachers will tell you. The Elohim there are the angels, all right? The sons of God, B'nai Elohim. They created mankind in their image. They were just husk, all right? They were just brute beasts. You can imagine if you created a matrix, all right? And you created these characters, all right? But they're just a phantom of what you look like because they don't have that divinity within them, right? They're just like ghosts, all right? Or NPCs, non-player characters. Remember, nobody has ever seen God, all right? God is not a physical form, all right? God is a force, a power, an energy. God is love. It is the ultimate power, okay? So they created man in their likeness, the way they look, their physical form, all right? So it was in their likeness. So when they were in the garden, you know, and the serpent said, you know, if you eat of this, you'll be like God, knowing good and evil. Okay, remember, God told him, he said, you know, you can live forever as long as you don't eat that fruit. If you eat that fruit, surely that day you'll die, okay? Meaning you will not be immortal. See, those mankind that was created by the Elohim, it says they are a lower, a weaker form of man. They are mortal. But on the 8th day, after God rested, on the 8th day, God created the Et Adam, the new man. All right, this was the one who became immortal because he had the divine within him, the divine spark. All right, he was a God. All right, remember Jesus said, don't you know you're gods? You know, it says in your law that you're gods. All right, by this anything, they were the image of God, and God's image, his character is love. All right, not a phantom illusion, a vain show of what they created, because they couldn't create the real image of God. They could create man in their image, manipulate DNA and stuff like that, but they couldn't put God in man. God did that on the 8th day, okay? And then the serpent comes and said, well, you'll be like God. They already were like God. See, that was a big lie. And then it's written that, well, if they, now that they know good and evil, they'll reach out their hand to the tree of life and they'll live forever. Well, see, that's like an oxymoron, because nothing that is dark or evil can be in the presence of God, all right? Nothing can stand in the presence of God. So man in that fallen state could not partake of the tree of life, all right? Because they were no longer gods. They were back to being a mortal, weak person because they were driven out of the presence of God. So how could they be like God? They couldn't. And that's why Michael, the archangel Michael, his name, Michael, means, it's like a question, but like an angry question, like, who is like God? Because, see, man in his fallen nature thought that by doing all these religious works, that put him on the level, same level as God. See, God kept the Sabbath. He rested. So we do it, all right? And on top of that, we're not going to eat pork. We're not going to touch certain things. we're not going to do this, we're not going to do that. We got 613 of these things we're not going to do. And that puts us right there at God's level, or maybe even higher than God. All right? That's why Michael's name means who is like God. Remember when he disputes in the book of Jude, Michael the archangel disputes with Satan, the accuser, with the body of Moses. The body of Moses is not the literal body of the dead body of Moses. It is the body of people that followed Moses, all right? And the accuser is the Torah, or those who use the Torah, because people point their finger, all right? Accusing people of not following the law, and that's what Satan means, is accuser, all right? So the one he is telling them, who is like God, all right? So he was disputing with them over the Torah, all right? And then when Paul tells people, he said in Ephesians, he said, you put on that your new nature, all right, and be like God, all right? That's when we got healed. That sickness was no longer there. We became immortal again, all right, because we stopped looking at the evil. It's like if you've been touched by God and he's changed you, you will never look back. Just like Lot's wife, she looked back, but Lot didn't look back. You see, once you come to the knowledge of the truth, you will never look at evil again. All right? Sin missed the mark by believing in your works of your hands to put you on the level of God. All right? You become holy by becoming humble and relying on God's works within you to change you and mold you and shape you in his image, and not a physical form, but the fruit of the Spirit form, which is love. All right? And that's when you become like God. And Michael was saying, who is like God? Only those who rely on God's strength and not their own, because nobody is holy, nobody is righteous by their own works.